This video is for educational and informational purposes, based on a published medical case report. No names or identifiable information is given about the patient. A 13-year-old boy walks into an emergency room with slurred speech and double vision. The doctors think it's a concussion. They're wrong. Over the next 3 years, this ordinary teenager will lose the ability to walk, to eat, to speak for himself. And when doctors finally understand what's actually happening inside his brain, it will be too late to stop it. What they find will make him one of the youngest people in medical history diagnosed with a disease that's supposed to only strike the elderly. A disease where the body's own proteins fold themselves into a shape that destroys the brain from the inside out. This is Mendel's science. Picture a typical American teenager. He plays football. He goes to school. Nothing about his life stands out, which is exactly what makes this case so unsettling. Because there was no warning sign, no family history, nothing anyone could have caught earlier. In the fall of 2008, he takes 2 hits to the head just months apart. One during football practice, another a few weeks later during a fall. Nobody thinks twice about it. They should have. Not because the concussions caused what came next, they didn't, but because they gave doctors the wrong story to follow for months. February 16, 2009. The boy walks into an emergency room with slurred speech, mood swings, and double vision. Doctors run a CT scan, an MRI, a scan of the blood vessels in his head and neck. Everything comes back normal. With 2 recent concussions on his chart, the diagnosis seems obvious: post-concussive syndrome. It's not. It's something far more sinister and malicious than anyone could have imagined. In the next few weeks, a pediatric neurologist notices something new: a mild tremor in his hands. His thinking has slowed. His memory is slipping. His handwriting is getting harder to read. By May, he has a routine eye surgery to fix a turned eye, completely unrelated, or so it seems. 2 weeks later, doctors notice he's having trouble with coordination. An MRI shows his cerebellum, the part of the brain responsible for balance and motor control, is shrinking. Then in June, everything accelerates. He's hospitalized with fever, worsening coordination, and an unsteady ataxic gait. Doctors also find he has H1N1 flu, a plausible explanation, at least for the fever. But his arms and legs start moving involuntarily, jerking in ways he can't control. He's transferred to a rehab facility. Doctors run a panel looking for paraneoplastic syndrome, a rare condition where a hidden tumor causes the immune system to attack the brain. Negative. Over the next few weeks, he loses control of his bladder and bowels. He's getting worse with seemingly no cause, and more importantly, nothing that the doctors can treat. Until one doctor notes on paper that prion disease hasn't been considered. The rest of the team of doctors don't think much of it. Before this hospitalization, he was walking, attending school, living a normal life. He can no longer do basic daily tasks on his own. In July of 2010, over a year after his first symptoms, he breaks his ankle climbing out of a second-story window. In the hospital, doctors observe involuntary movements in his limbs, uncontrolled tremors, and periods of confusion the doctors note as extremely severe. A new theory emerges that could tie everything together. Maybe this is a mitochondrial disorder, a problem with the tiny energy-producing structures inside his cells. After this hospital stay, his mother notices something new and quietly devastating. He's having trouble chewing and swallowing. His food has to be blended. September 2011. He's hospitalized again, this time with fever and difficulty breathing. Aspiration pneumonia caused by food or liquid entering his lungs instead of his stomach, a direct consequence of his declining ability to swallow. Doctors place a feeding tube. His body begins twitching in ways that don't match a seizure. 5 months later, he's back in the hospital, now in the pediatric ICU. His breathing fails. Doctors intubate him and place him on a ventilator. They try repeatedly to remove the breathing tube. Each attempt fails. In February 2012, 3 years after that first ER visit for slurred speech, he dies. He is 16 years old. An autopsy is performed. His brain tissue is sent to a specialized lab that studies one of the rarest and strangest categories of disease, in all of medicine: prion disease. Deep in your brain, you have a completely normal protein. In prion disease, something causes that protein to fold into an abnormal shape. That misfolded protein then touches a neighboring normal protein and forces it to misfold too. And that one does the same to the next. It's less like a typical illness and more like a chain reaction, spreading through brain tissue one protein at a time, leaving damage that looks like a sponge under a microscope. You may have heard of this family of diseases before, in a different form: mad cow disease, and its human version, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. But this boy didn't have variant CJD, and he wasn't exposed to contaminated beef. His case fell into a much rarer category: sporadic prion disease, meaning the misfolding happened spontaneously, for no traceable reason at all. No infection, no environmental cause, no inherited gene mutation. His genetic testing came back clean. Specifically, the lab identified sporadic fatal insomnia, a subtype so rare it accounts for roughly 1 to 2% of all human prion disease cases. It shares symptoms with a genetic disease called fatal familial insomnia. But, and this matters, his case was not inherited. It was, as far as anyone can tell, just bad luck at the molecular level. Fatal familial insomnia is genetic and produces profound cognitive issues and deficits. The disorder accumulates into the individual not being able to sleep. Something hardwired into every human being who has ever lived is suddenly turned off. This mechanism failure of the body is always fatal. At just 16 years old, he became the youngest person ever documented with sporadic prion disease, leading to FFI. For 3 years, doctors chased reasonable explanations: a concussion, the flu, a mitochondrial disorder, because prion disease in a teenager was almost unthinkable. Prion diseases are things doctors associate with elderly patients, not healthy 13-year-olds who play football. This case doesn't have a treatment to report or a recovery to celebrate. What it has is a lesson, written by his doctors and indirectly by his family, who cooperated with this investigation so that other families might get answers faster than they did. Prions are one of the scariest disorders ever recorded in science. This channel studies the genetic abnormalities in the human body, which is why this case is so fundamentally extreme. With no known external interactions, bad genetics, or identifiable triggers, a healthy boy lost his life to one of the rarest conditions in all of medical literature. This is Mendel Science. When the body is a mystery, read the genes. Subscribe for more genetic mysteries.